Welcome back to Hoopla. I'm your host, Ethan Jackson, and I'm excited to be bringing to you another episode. Things are starting to shake themselves out in the league. Superstars are kind of jockeying for who's the best in the league. I feel like that's up in the air right now. There's some young stars that are continuing to emerge, and there's some rookies as well that are establishing themselves as legit players in the NBA. And I'm filming this it's currently Wednesday, so the in-season tournament just finished up last night on Tuesday. And at least the group play did. It's completed, and the knockout round bracket is now set. So that's kind of what I'm going to focus on these two episodes, is those two things that I just kind of talked about. I feel like it's time to give my thoughts on this year's rookie class and how those players are looking. And then with the in-season tournament group play finished up and the bracket set, I feel like I need to give my reactions and my predictions as to who I think is going to win it. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. So we're about a quarter through the season. Most teams have played 16, 18 games, somewhere around there. So we're starting to reach the 1/4 mark of the season. And just yesterday, I realized that I haven't did any talking about the rookie class this year. So I feel like it's time for me to do a rookie check-in or a rookie watch, whatever you want to call it. Just where I talk about the rookies this year, because there's a number of them that are starting to carve out some roles on their team. Some are doing this on winning teams, others are on losing teams, and then there are the ones who are really, really showing out. And obviously above that, you got the ones that are showing true star potential. So there are a few that I want to spend some time on, and there's four of them I'm going to talk about for this rookie segment. The first one is Jaime Jaquez Jr. In my opinion, he has been the best rookie outside of Chet and Wemby. And obviously Chet wasn't drafted in this draft class, but he's considered a rookie because he didn't play last year. But Jaime Jaquez Jr. has been the best rookie outside of those two. And I want to say that I did go on record in one of my videos, I don't remember which one it was, saying that he was going to be one of the steals of the draft. So I just wanted to point that out, that it looks like that's coming to fruition, and I love that. And it's kind of hard to explain why I was saying that at the time, but there was a certain readiness I saw when I was watching him at UCLA for the past few years, and a certain high level of basketball IQ. It's hard to explain. There was just something I seen in him that I knew would translate to the NBA, and it was just something about how polished he was coming out that I knew he would be a legit role player on any team you put him on. He would have been successful no matter what team it was. Even if it was a bad team, he would have found a way to have some success in this league. But the Miami Heat was the perfect fit, in my opinion. He kind of effortlessly fits into the culture with his mindset and his toughness and his grit and just the style of play. He fits into it almost perfectly. And he's one of those guys that you can just tell by watching him that he's always a step ahead. He's able to read defenses so well at such a young age, which is rare. Which I don't guess he's that young compared to the other rookies, but just the way he's able to read defenses and know what's going on the basketball floor at all times has been pretty impressive. Here's his stats I have written down right here. He's averaging 11 points per game, 3.8 steals, 2.6 assists, 1 steal on 52, 39, and 82 shooting splits. It's nothing crazy. I mean, I know the marker is 50, 40, 90. That's the big marker that we use for the shooting splits, but he's shooting almost 50, 40, 80, which is just as impressive as a rookie that's playing a fairly big role on a team that's pretty good. That he can be that efficient, that's pretty impressive. And he's just been consistent all year long. He's been like a rock all year for the Heat, with some of the injuries they've been facing with Tyler Hero and Kyle Lowry having to miss some games and Jimmy Butler having to miss some games here and there. He's just been kind of their steady hand that they could rely on, whereas some of the other rookies have been up and down like a roller coaster. So Spo brings him in off the bench in most games, and you can just see that Coach Spo knows he can trust him, and it definitely shows. Like if you watch, he's getting plays called for him where he gets a post up in the short corner on both sides, either side. He's got great footwork that in a post game that he can take advantage of a mismatch or just make plays out of the post. He's pretty good at that, and then Spo's also letting him run the pick and roll and be kind of an initiator, playmaker on some offensive possessions, which you don't see often unless Spo really trusts you. So that's saying a lot about him. But he's been one of the if not the most impressive rookie so far this season, in my opinion. It is rare that a rookie can come into a contending team and change how I view that team right away. Like, I'm not saying they go from can't win a championship to can win a championship, but he came into, a Miami Heat team that lost in the finals last year, and he made them better. That's saying something. This was a finals team last year, and he's had an impact on that team where I look at them and say they're better than they were last year. And you just don't see that from rookies. Rookies just do not have that type of impact on teams that are legit contenders. And he's definitely one of those, and that's been kind of the coolest thing about it. But he's a player that is going to fly under a lot of people's radar just because there's nothing flashy about his game. He's got some athleticism, so he may get a dunk or got some good vision, so he may get a look away pass every now and then or a highlight play like that. But he simply just flat out gets the job done. That's all there is to it. He does exactly what this team needs him to do. He's not one of those players that just stuffs the stat sheet stuffers, as they call them. But he does a lot of things that contribute to team success and winning. And I can't say that I'm shocked by the way he's playing because I thought he was a steal of this draft. But I will say that I have been impressed so far, and I love what I'm seeing from him, and I'm looking forward to seeing if he can continue it. So I'll have an eye on him for sure as the rest of the season goes on. Moving on to the second rookie I wanted to talk about for a second is Ausar Thompson on the Detroit Pistons. Before I start, I just want to run over his stats real fast. He's averaging 11.4 points, 9.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.7 blocks, and 1.1 steals. And granted, this is on not so great shooting stats. Like I have here from 3-point land, he's shooting 13%, which is awful. I would assume, I haven't looked, but I would assume that's one of the worst in the league at 13%. But I could sit here and bore you with all these ridiculous stats about him, that show how he's impacting the team. But some of those stats are hard to understand, and I can't even looking at them and reading about them, I still can't even. I can understand them, but then having to try to explain what they mean and how they add to his level of importance to this team is kind of hard to explain. So I'm just going to leave them out. But stats obviously aren't with him is not where I've been impressed. Coming in, I knew he was a athlete, a freak athlete. That's what everybody was saying was that he was a freak athlete. But the most impressive thing has been how he uses that athleticism and his feel for the game to impact winning. Well, I shouldn't say impact winning because they're losing a lot right now, but how he impacts the game. Obviously, he's a 6'6", strong, fast, physical, long wingspan, and has all the quick twitch abilities that I call him, and quick twitch that allows him to do things that are freakish sometimes on the basketball floor. He's a great jumper, great jumping ability. He's quick off the floor, and this is why he has so many rebounds as a 6'6" guard and so many blocks on the defensive end. Offensively, this is why he has a lot of putbacks and a lot of offensive rebounds. I think at one point he was like 5th in the league in offensive rebound rate, and the next closest guard or wing was like 19 spots away. So that was pretty impressive. And it's also why he's dangerous in transition, whether it's him going off the bounce, dunking on somebody, or just a lob from one of the other players on the team. He's dangerous in transition as well. And he also has this quick burst of speed that's pretty special. I don't really know. They may have a certain phrase for it that they use, but it's the quick burst and how quick he can get from this side of the floor to the corner, like in an instant, or from half court to the 3-point line in an instant. And this shows up like especially in passing lanes, leading to all the steals he's getting in the open floor, like when he's running the floor on a fast break. It gets him a lot of transition buckets. Another piece of his athleticism that I'm seeing is his lateral movement is probably one of the best in the league right now. He makes it extremely tough in the few games I've watched, and just some clips I seen today when I was writing my notes down. He makes it tough for offensive players to beat him off the dribble. He's really good. He uses his speed, his strength, and his physicality. He's really good at keeping people in front of him, and even if he gets beat, his recovery is and his ability to recover after getting beat is as good as I have ever seen. And he has great hands when he gets beat. So you may beat him and think I've got him on my hip or whatever, and he's gonna slide, and then you go up for a layup, and next thing you know, the ball's on the ground because he got his hands on it. And this shows his timing. His timing as a help defender is vet-like, is what I have written down right here. I didn't really know a phrase to describe him, but you would think he has been in the league a long time with his ability kind of to time the help just right to get the block or to get a contest, while also being able to, in other situations, to show his help and still be able to get out to the shooter or get out to the driver and close out hard while also keeping somebody in front of him. You don't see that often from young players. Sometimes they're all over the place. They may overhelp or they may not help at all. So it's just the fact that he's already that great of a help defender is pretty impressive in my opinion. But he's not just a great defender. He also has great feel, and that same feel for the game shows up on the offensive end as well. I will say before I get into him on the offensive end, he's not a great shooter. He's actually a bad shooter. I would just come out and say that, but he has great finishing ability, and he's a great cutter. I have noticed that he knows how to cut and when to cut at the right times, and then once he catches the cut, he knows what the defender is doing, so he may dump it off to another person, or he may just quick up and finish or whatever. But he's a great cutter, and I've noticed that in some of the clips. But he just has all those basketball instincts that you cannot really teach as a coach or as a parent or whatever, that you can't really teach people. And it's I'm hoping he gets rewarded for how well he's playing on the defensive end, because to me it looks like he could make an all defensive team this year if he wants to. Not if he wants to, but if the league is willing to put a rookie in there. But he defensively, I think he may already be one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Like I said, he'll probably at the end of the season have a good case, especially if he plays most of the season. He'll have a good case to make an all defensive team. Now on the offensive end, he does have a lot of room to improve, which I think could be a positive if you want to look at it that way, especially shooting the basketball. But everything else on that end of the floor, I think he's pretty good at, like ball handling, finishing, playmaking, things of that nature, cutting, as I just talked about. But me personally, I'm not asking him, nor do I think people should be asking him to turn into some superstar player or some elite scorer. But because I think that's where teams go wrong sometimes, is they get a high draft pick and they draft people based on who has the most star potential and whatever things of that nature, instead of kind of looking at a player that can just be a good building block and contribute to winning in numerous ways. And then next year I may get the superstar guy that I can really build around, but it would not hurt to have a young guy to go with him. And I think sometimes teams miss because they're worrying about who's going to carry my franchise. But I don't want to be the guy that puts a limit on him or tries to predict what I think he can be. But I know he will be in this league a long time. I know that he'll have a long career, and he will be a player that winning teams and teams that are right on the verge and building something, they're always going to be looking forward to add to their team just to help their chances of winning. I'm really sure he's one of those players that honestly will probably never be a great scorer in this league, or kind of he'll never be a go-to option on the offensive end, I don't think. But he will always be pretty entertaining to watch on defense. He's one of those guys that you have to be a real basketball nerd or basketball psycho, kind of a little bit psycho, to be able to enjoy the little things that he does on the basketball court. And that is me. I'll admit I'm a bit of a basketball psycho. So that's why he's one of my favorite rookies to watch from this class. I'm not saying he's the best, but he for sure is one of my favorites to watch. And I'm going to keep an eye on him as well, and his brother. I'm wanting to see if I can see some of the same stuff from his brother, but he's been hurt, and Houston's a good team, so he's not getting as much free will as Ausur's getting on Detroit. So with those two rookies I just talked about, if they're not the best, then who is the best? Obviously, y'all know it's between Wemby and Chet as to who's the best rookie this year and who's going to win Rookie of the Year. So I'm going to start with Wemby. Here's some stats for Wemby. He's averaging 19.2 points, 9.5 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 2.6 blocks, and 1.3 steals. And I will say he's averaging 3.6 turnovers with that, which is not the best in and his shooting splits are 43, 27, 82, which is also not great. But he is a rookie, so sometimes you expect him to be a little inefficient to start seasons. But the thing I'm seeing with him is he has been very, very inconsistent, like I said, or like I predicted he would be in one of my previous videos. Every time it looks like he's starting to figure things out, and he'll have a 30-point game and 30 and 15 and 3 blocks type of game on efficient scoring. He has a rough game the next game, and it's like, okay, he reverted back everything. He's back to the rookie Wemby instead of the next face of the league Wemby. So, he like there's been numerous times throughout the season where he's shown flashes of he's going to be the next great thing, and then there's other moments where you're like, man, he for sure needs some time to develop into the player I think he can be. But I think it's that simple, Like I feel like I'm kind of giving him I'm letting him off the hook a little bit with the way I'm talking about him. I don't really have too much positive or too much negative to say about him, but I feel like there's kind of a good reason for that. Like, and that reason, it simply is the fact that I knew coming into this year that the roster makeup of the Spurs just wasn't that great. So, and it definitely wasn't going to translate to winning games, but it's not even good enough to help him kind of ease his way into the league. So he's just kind of getting thrown to the fire right now. And this is no disrespect to any of the Spurs players on that team, but there's just a lack of elite talent, which is making Wemby's life a lot harder compared to, let's say, someone or like someone like Chet that I'm about to talk about, who's on a team with the second best record in the conference. So Wemby will figure it out. I'm not worried about Wemby at all. I mean, he's sleepwalking into what I say a double 20 and 10 almost. He's sleepwalking into 20 and 10 with 2.6 blocks. Like, already probably one of the best rim protectors in the league, if not the best shot blocker in the league already, especially at the big man position. But I'm going to keep an eye on him and see if he starts to become more consistent as the season goes on. So the last rookie on here is, well, like I said, it's between Wemby and Chet as the best rookies. So let's talk about Chet as the last rookie on here. He has easily been the most impressive rookie this season for me. There's been a lot of them that's been impressive, but he has been the most impressive in my opinion. Once again, I'm not shocked because I predicted that he had a chance of winning Rookie of the Year and that he would have a great season and the team would have a great season, which is it's all happening right now. So as far as his stats go, he's averaging 18 points, 8 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 2.2 blocks, 1 steal on 54, 43, and 87 shooting splits, which is he's almost having a 50, 40, 90 season right now, which is very, very rare for any NBA player, much less a rookie. That type of efficiency is unheard of for young players. And this is coming from his feel for the game, as I was talking about with Thompson. It's just he's very advanced for someone that's playing their first season in the league. Some have said that this may be partially due to him being hurt all last year and just getting to be around the team and be up close and personal as with the NBA game and the NBA atmosphere and lifestyle and stuff like that. But to me, I feel like that's kind of a slight towards him because he probably always had this level of feel for the game, and it's showing. It's really showing that he knows how to play and is playing the right way. Obviously, you can give some credit to the coach and the rest of the team for allowing him to come in and be aggressive as he wants to, but also making sure not too much of the burden is put on him. But as far as he goes, he's really wise about kind of picking his spots when he wants to score and when he wants to be aggressive. And when he does do it, he has the full package, the full toolkit, the full game, whatever you want, whatever phrase you want to use. He can post on the block, he can post in the mid post, he can post in the short corner. When he gets the ball in the post, he has great footwork. He's a good passer out of the post. Uses his height to see over the defense and find the open man. Now I will say he needs some more strength. He needs to. I don't necessarily think he needs to bulk up. I don't like that narrative, but he needs some more strength to bang down there in the post. He can screen and roll. He can screen and pop. He can be if you want to, he can be the pick and roll ball handler. He can spot up in the corner and just be a spot up shooter. He can take defenders off the dribble. He's got a pretty fluid pull up game in my opinion. And he's just overall he's a good decision maker, especially on the offensive end. And then defensively, he's just as good on defense as he is on the offensive end. He's a great rim protector already. He pretty good when he has to switch out onto guards that are faster than him. He's not the shiftiest side to side, but because he's so long and so tall, he's able to make up for it with his height and his length. But I mean, I have to say again that I have been really impressed with Chet so far. He don't just have empty stats like one could argue about Wembanyama's stats, but I also don't think that's fair to Wemby to compare the stats of the two just because they are in two totally different situations. Wemby is on a team where he is the guy that defenses are game planning for, so that has a lot to do with why he has been a lot less efficient. However, it does need to be said that Chet is doing this while playing on a team that's tied with the second best record in the West right now. Like, there's a flip side to playing on a good team. Yes, it means you get cleaner looks and less attention and things of that nature. But on the other side of that, you do not get as many shots and as many touches. So you have to be more efficient with the touches that you do get. And that's not something that's easy to do. I mean, we have seen superstars, we have seen stars, we have seen role players in the past, and we've seen plenty of people drop in efficiency when they go to a better team that's trying to win a championship and their role falls off some. We've seen them fall in efficiency. And, you know, he's not only accepting his role and embracing his role, but he's thriving in it. And he's playing a huge factor in how good this team has been to start this season. And he's making a great case to be an all-star. We'll see how the next 20 or so games goes, but he's making a great all-star case. So I hope he keeps it up. And if he does, I think he will win. He will win Rookie of the Year, honestly. If the team continues to have this level of success as well as him having this much of success, I think he has a great chance to win Rookie of the Year. So we'll see how that goes. Those are the four. I'm gonna keep watching every one of the rookies as much as I can, but those are the four right there that have really caught my eye, and I want to keep an eye on to see how they continue to get better as this season goes along, and hopefully I can do another rookie check-in at some point later in the season. But for right now, that's the four that I wanted to talk about and spend this segment on. All right, so now that I've had my segment talking about the rookies, I wanted to use this last little bit to talk about the in-season tournament before I wrap up. So like I said earlier, the group play is of the in-season tournament is over, and the bracket for the knockout round is set. So here are the matchups right here in case you don't know. You'll have the number one seed Bucks playing the number 4 seed Knicks, who are a wild card, and this is the East side. And then you'll have the number 2 Pacers playing the number 3 Celtics. And then on in the West, you'll have the number 1 Lakers playing the number 4 Suns, who are also a wild card. And then you'll have the Kings and the Pelicans playing as the 2 and 3 seeds. But real quick, before I go into my predictions about what I think is going to happen in the bracket, I just want to say that this was a very, very smart move by the NBA. I have really enjoyed every second of the in-season tournament so far, and I think most NBA fans would agree, even people that weren't fans of the NBA. I'm sure it's brought some attention to it. You know, it has brought some intensity and some interesting storylines to this first part of the season that's usually pretty dull after you get past a certain point. And it has made those games feel kind of like a event-type game, like that you can't miss it. You feel like there's something important happening. And it could be due to the courts and the jerseys and things like that and just all the kind of the media coverage around it that makes it feel more than what it is. But when it's still on those in-season tournament days, it feels like an event that you have to watch. My only issue with it so far is and it was a lot all over the sports coverage world today, is the point differential tiebreaker. I'm not the biggest fan of it just because each group is a different set of teams with a different set of play styles. Some play faster, some play slower, and it just kind of leads to a weird situation. It's also led to some ugly moments, as most of you may have saw last night. Like at the end of some of these games, like for example, the Celtics were hack-a-shacking Andre Drummond down the stretch, even though they were up 20-plus points, trying to make sure that they secured enough points to make it in the bracket play. So the game wasn't even in the balance, but they were still fouling and trying to rack up and run up the score on them, basically run up the score as you say in rec league or whatever. But like even some of the players on the Celtics didn't like it. Like I seen a clip of Jaylen Brown saying that he didn't really like having to do it, but he understood why they were doing it. And it just that created just a weird, awkward situation. And then also, like in a different sense, I think in the Warriors Kings game, I think the point differential caused the Warriors to play differently in their game against the Kings. Like instead of nursing the ball when they were up 8 points down the stretch and just making kind of the best plays to just win the game, they were still trying to make sure that they won by 12 because that's what they needed to get in. They had to win the game by 12 or more points, so they were playing differently than they would have if it was just a regular season game. So I'm not a fan of the point differential thing. My best suggestion would be one that I heard from Candace Parker as to how you would do the tiebreaker. She suggested that the tiebreaker should be based on regular season records. So the best way to explain it is if there's two teams that have a tiebreaker, you look at this team's 12-4, this team's 8-8. So the team that's 12-4 would get in, which I think makes a lot of sense, and I would like to see that next year. But at least we have something to talk about and something that we can improve on. And there's a conversation being had about the tournament, which I think is good. And then there's one other thing that I would change if I was the Adam Silver, and that would be I think I would make the group play 8 games instead of 4. I think I would do a home and away with each of the teams in the group. But other than that, I think the in-season tournament has been great, and I cannot wait to watch the rest of it play out. But now let's get to, I'm sure, what a lot of you are here for. Who do I think will win it? So for my predictions, I'm going to go through each game and one by one and talk about who I think is going to win. So the first game will be played on December 4th. It is the Pacers versus the Celtics. So, the Pacers have been playing some really, really good basketball as of late. Well, actually, I should say the Pacers are playing some really good offense because they are not playing any defense, so I shouldn't even give them that credit of saying they're playing basketball. But Tyrese Halliburton has been lights out. I'm gonna have to do a segment on him at some point in the near future. He's playing unreal right now. And but as far as this game goes, I'm gonna have to pick the Celtics. I don't think the Pacers can beat them just because they don't guard, and I think the Celtics have the ability to somewhat slow the Pacers down at least for one game. And I feel like the Celtics are going to be playing with something to prove this tournament. I think they really want to win this thing, and I don't blame them. It's good for the league. I think obviously they want to win a championship too, but I think with the persona that Joe Mazzulla gets off, he's definitely pushing that they want to win this thing. And just players on that team like Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday and Tatum, I'm sure they want to win it as well. So I've got the Celtics beating the Pacers in the first game of the bracket play. The second game is the Kings versus the Pelicans. That'll follow that Celtics-Pacers game. Both of these teams have been playing some really, really, really good basketball as of late. So this was a tough choice. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to have to pick the Pelicans here. I don't think the Kings have any answer for Zion, and McCollum will be back by then. I think he's planning to play tonight is Wednesday, so I think he said he's planning to play tonight. And just the team as a whole is finally healthy. There may be Trey Murphy will be back by next week, but I mean they've been playing pretty well lately. And I know just last episode I said that I don't think Zion was making it through the season and that it was time for them to panic, but they've been winning some pretty big games lately, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. So I think they're going to beat the Kings in that first game. The next game it'll be the next night, so it's the Bucks versus the Knicks. And I know a lot of people are picking the Bucks to win this tournament, and I'm going to go out on a limb and pick the upset here. I think the Knicks are going to win this game and move on to the second round. I'm worried about that. Well, I'm worried about all these picks, but I think the Knicks are going to win that game. Then the last game is the one I'm looking forward to the most, and that's the Lakers versus the Suns. I cannot wait to watch this one. This was definitely the hardest to pick for me because KD and Book they're just hoopers, and they're going to play their hardest. They're going to try to win every time they step on a basketball court, but especially when you put a trophy on the line, they're definitely going to be playing like that, like they want to win. But on the other end, on the Lakers team, you got LeBron, and in the way he's been playing lately and just how I know LeBron is, he's definitely going to try to win this tournament, the first in-season tournament, just to add to his resume. But I have no doubt that all three of those guys will show up, but the one I don't think will show up is AD, Anthony Davis. I don't think he's going to show up in this game. I don't know why I think that. I just don't think he is, and I think that's why I'm picking the Suns to win this game. So after the first round picks, that'll leave the Celtics versus the Knicks in the East and the Suns versus Pelicans in the West. That'll play on next Thursday, the 7th, December 7th. So for the Celtics and Knicks, these teams, they always have some intense battles in the regular season, but that's the key word, the regular season. This will be like a playoff game in the sense of adjustments and atmosphere and things like that. And I don't think they can beat the Celtics in a playoff game, and that's why I'm going to say the Celtics move on to the championship. They beat the Knicks and move on to the championship. And then the West Finals game will be the Suns versus Pelicans. And the Suns and Pelicans, they've kind of had some animosity towards each other over the last few years. It started after their playoff series a few years ago. That was pretty intense. But this game will for sure be an entertaining watch. I'm gonna have to pick the Suns. It will. I think it'll be a close game, and I just trust Booker and KD to make more plays down the stretch. So I'm gonna have to say the Suns move on to the championship. So that means the championship game will be the Suns versus the Celtics. This would be a pretty interesting matchup, I think, because there's some history, and not necessarily with these two teams, but like KD, when he played the Celtics in the playoffs a few years ago, they threw body after body at him and sent doubles, sent triples, ran some weird defenses, and it was the worst I've ever seen Kevin Durant play. So it'll be kind of his get back moment for him. And then also like Drew Holiday, he always gives Book trouble. They always go at each other, especially stemming from that finals appearance they both had. But I don't know what's wrong with Bradley Beal, but I'm just going to assume he's not going to play next week. If he does, that may change my picks, but I'm just going to assume he won't. But ultimately, I think the Celtics overwhelm them and they win this game. So my final prediction is that the Celtics will win the very first in-season tournament. They just have too much talent. They have 4 guys that can win them a game at any given night. Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, and Holiday. Actually, I might even say they have 5 guys because Derek White is capable of going for 25 and winning a game. So I think they're just going to overwhelm each team in each round just due to the fact that it's single elimination, and even if one of their big 4 doesn't have doesn't show up, they have 3 others that can back them up. So that's why I'm picking the Celtics to win the first in-season tournament. But I can't wait to watch it. I know that. Like, I cannot wait to watch the rest of this tournament. It has been really fun so far. I'm nervous that I'm on here giving predictions now because now I have to stand on it, even if I'm wrong, which I probably will be. But I don't mind that. It's kind of what I signed up for by decided to talk about basketball on the internet. Honestly, I don't think there is enough accountability in this space as it is right now. People can just say stuff that's just way off or just a hot take and then never say anything else about it. It just disappears. And when it don't come true, and I don't really like that. So I'm not going to do that. I take pride that I'm not going to do that. If I'm way wrong about something, I'm going to come on here and call myself out. I want y'all to call me out, but because I can live with my misses. I can live with it. So, and I think it adds to the fun of coming on here and doing this. But that's going to do it for this episode. I'm going to wrap up here. I'm happy I finally got to talk about some of the rookies because there's been some that have been pretty surprising, and I'm looking forward to keeping an eye on them and seeing how they continue to shape themselves. But as far as the next episode is concerned, I'll probably get on here after the championship of the in-season tournament and give my reaction to how it played out. But until then, I've been your host, Ethan Jackson. Thanks for tuning in to Hoopla. See you next time.